Recording now, when you're ready, Rosemary.
Thank you. Right. Good evening, councillors, and welcome to this meeting of the Planning Committee on 23rd of February. There are no members of the public present, so we can just go straight into the agenda. And the first item, apologies for absence, there aren't any because we're all here. Then, do I have any declarations of interest? Yes, Paul. You're on mute, Paul.
Sorry, my mistake. It's one of those tiny ones. It's bottom of page 37. Currently, officer observation does not meet the criteria. So only if another member of the committee wanted to raise it, does it become an issue? But I'm just highlighting it. It's the one for 21 Bloomfield Road.
21 Bloomfield. Okay. Yes. No. Unless anybody wants to raise it, that's fine. Thank you.
Seems to be a lot of development on Bloomfield Road these few weeks.
Well, some roads there seems to be a permanent state. Do we have? Moving on to item 3, the minutes. Are you all happy that once I can actually get into the office to sign minutes, that I can sign these as a true and fair record? If you could just.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Do we have any public questions at item 4 in accordance with standing orders?
None received.
None received. Do we have any letters of objection?
None received.
None received. No, I noticed on a few of the applications there are some online, but we've not been copied in on any.
No.
Okay. So we'll go to item 6, which is the applications for the week ending the 19th of February, the week ending 26th of February, and the week ending the 5th of March, beginning at page 21. And since we have no members of the public here, we can just go straight through them in order. So first one is 5/2021 0259, which at 59 Noakshott, which does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. And similarly 5/2021 0275 at 13 Common Lane. Moving on then to 5/2021 0358, that's 136 Westfield Road. If you like to.
Yes, okay. So Hev, I think, we have got some pictures for this.
Just about to screen share now.
Okay, thank you. This property is sited on a corner plot with a small wall running along the boundary of Beeching Close. The boundary wall is topped by a small post-bordered fence with screening to the side elevation of the house by a couple of tall growing conifers and additional shrubbery. The provision is to the rear of the property, where there's a double garage sited in the rear garden with access via a parking area in Beeching Close. I'm not sure who owns the actual parking area at the rear of the property. The proposal is to build a 2-storey side extension up to the boundary of Beeching Close in order to add an additional 4th bedroom and to move the existing downstairs bathroom to the upper floor. The proposed 2-storey side elevation flank wall, due to its being built up to the boundary, appears to be overpowering and dominant on the street scene of Beeching Close, creating a possible loss of amenity to neighbouring properties within the vicinity. Consider express concern that the proposed 2-storey side extension is an over-dominant feature on the street scene, creating a possible loss of amenity to properties in Beeching Close. Concerns are also expressed with regards to insufficient on-site parking provision for the additional proposed 4th bedroom.
Thank you.
And there were no letters of objection on the website at all.
Okay, can I invite comments, councillors? Okay, John.
Yes, thank you, Rosemary. My question is, if the property is going to be built up to the side of the boundary line and Beeching close, then does that not affect those trees along that side? And if it did affect those trees on that side, what proposals are there for obviously for replanting under the neighbourhood plan? It may not affect the trees, but it looked to me very unlikely that it wouldn't. Secondly, if the trees weren't there to screen it, would there be any overlooking to the properties across the road?
Well, they haven't put in anything regarding replacing the trees, and that particularly was my concern, hence the reason that I've put that it's going to be dominant and that it is going to be loss of amenity. So down to councillors.
Yeah, Nigel.
Thanks, Chair. I concur. I mean, I've looked at this one, and my reaction is it's slightly overdevelopment. I think the idea of going right to the boundary, even if it was a metre back, so there's a passage down, would make all the difference. I think right up to the boundary is a no-no. I think it's overdevelopment.
Yeah.
Plus the parking point.
Yes, and I was going to say that in fact there are several letters of objection on the district website. A lot of them are to do with road safety, which I'm not sure counts because highways, I think, have said it's okay, and it wasn't refused on that before. But I think looking at it, I certainly think it's a bit over dominant for the houses that are across the side of the road from it. It's a not particularly wide road, and it's sufficiently dominant to be a bit out of keeping. So anybody else? So I suppose the thing is, councillors, do we want to express concern or refuse?
Refuse.
You refuse. I mean, I think if one feels it's over dominant and therefore loss of amenity, I'd veer towards refuse.
Yeah, I'm with refuse as well, with that drop down onto them.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be very in your face for the houses.
Yeah.
Opposite. So could we vote? So can I ask if members are minded to refuse?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, then moving on to 5/2021-0283 5 Acacia Walk.
Oh,
You missed
no,
one
we've
out?
missed one.
Have I missed one
Yeah.
out?
There's 2 Broadstone Road on page 22.
Oh, yes. So I turned over 2 pages. I'll go back again. Yes, 5/2020-3138 2 Broadstone Road.
Okay, and I think I've got some pictures for this here. Right, okay. Following permission granted for the construction of a semi-detached 2-bedroom house on application reference 520-0828, which had addressed vehicle access requirements for the local planning authority, this proposal is for roof alterations to provide a 2nd floor bedroom with Velux roof lights to the front and rear, the relocation of the pavement crossover and associated visibility displays. This proposal will therefore increase this property from a 2-storey to a 3-storey dwelling. The approved application shows 2 bedrooms on the 1st floor elevation, and although the new proposal shows that there is to be no proposed increase to the bedroom accommodation, one of the 2 permitted bedrooms is shown to be relocated into the 3rd storey of the property. The proposed new roof design appears to be out of keeping with the street scene, which consists of 2-storey properties. With regards to the proposed new position of the pavement crossover, this does not appear to have any detrimental impact on the highway, and visibility displays appear to have been adapted to meet the St Albans District Plan required criteria. Parking provision remains the same, but the position has been altered in order to adapt to the new proposal. No trees will be affected by this proposal. Consider express concern with regards to the proposed design and additional increase in height, which would be out of keeping with the existing property and the character and appearance of the street scene.
Thank you. First of all, apologies, councillors. This was actually the application where there were several objections online. I managed to turn over 2 pages. So I was reading wrong notes, but there were several objections online for this, just to mention. Quite a few were to do with concerns about safety, given its siting on a bend, but some also are about loss of amenity due to overdevelopment of the plot.
Yeah, that's correct.
On the site. So, John, do you want to comment?
I was just going to say I couldn't quite see because the plans are quite faded on the PowerPoint. I was thinking, where exactly is going to be the crossover and the access to the road? Because that is, I do know that bend very well, and it is particularly tricky. I just wondered whereabouts. You know, to go back to the picture of the house, is it towards the front? At the moment, I think the access to the garage is at the rear. I wasn't quite sure exactly where the crossover was going to be.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
I think it was going, from what I remember looking at this, I think it was going to be further around the corner.
It was.
Yes.
I think it's from memory, it was sort of in
Yeah.
this location
Right.
here.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think actually that's where the garage is anyway. But I think that that is actually still quite tricky because you can see people coming down the left of this road here, on straight down onto that corner there, it can be quite tricky. So I could understand some of the objections relating to safety, but I'm not so sure whether they're part of our remit or not. The other thing is that it would certainly be over dominant because it's right at the top of the hill, and therefore any increase in height would actually be exacerbated by that.
Yeah, Nigel.
Yes, thanks, Rosemary. I would refuse on the grounds of over dominant and the height, particularly in the height.
Yes, I think the height is a problem.
Yes.
I mean, to illustrate one that's not just to illustrate. It's been on my mind. I see it so often. If someone goes up Townsend Road and look at the building going up at the top of Townsend Road, you'll see what a dominant flank wall is being produced because it's the top of the road and it's 3-story.
Yes.
It totally dominates the road. Anyone wants to walk up it, you can see the impact of it. And this is what you'll have here.
Yeah. So, councillors, are we minded to refuse?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
Yes, agreed, yeah.
you.
Right, now, moving on now to 5 Acacia Walk, which is 5/2021-0283.
Okay, if we can have some photos
Yeah.
of this one. This property is set in a small close consisting of similar style properties, with this particular dwelling set forward on its plot from the neighbouring property number 6 Acacia Walk. There is a door on the ground floor side elevation of number 6 Acacia Walk. There is currently a single garage with 2 on-site parking spaces. One of these parking spaces being slightly overgrown by a large mature conifer. These are to be retained and will meet the requirements for parking provision for the proposal, which is to increase the property from a 3 to a 4-bedroom dwelling house. There's a footpath to the side of the property leading to a public play area at the rear, which will be unaffected by the proposal. The proposed front canopy entrance extension is to be sited in such a position that existing parking will not be affected. Due to the positioning of the host dwelling, the proposed 2-storey rear extension and the single-storey front extension do not appear to have an adverse effect on neighbouring property number 6 or the character and appearance of the street scene. No letters of objection have been received, and so therefore I suggested consider no objection subject to no loss of amenity to neighbouring property number 6.
Thank you. Right, do I have any comments, councillors, or are we happy to go with the no objection subject? I mean, it looks okay to me. So are we all happy to go with that? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 5/2021-0326 at 51 Eastmoor Park.
Okay, before I go into the details, just to let you know that a letter of objection has actually been received from number 49 Eastmoor Park. So this property is currently a 3-bedroom detached bungalow with an integrated single double-length garage set in a cul-de-sac, which consists of bungalows at the end with larger, more dominant properties towards the beginning of the road. This particular part of Eastmoor Park appears to be fairly narrow. The existing 3 bedrooms are housed in a loft area at the rear of the property. The proposal shows a first floor front gable over the existing garage, which is to include a dressing room and ensuite for the master bedroom, and a large glass window is incorporated into the design. However, as no obscure glazing is detailed on the plans, as such, there are concerns that this part of the proposal may affect the amenity of neighbouring property number 136 Eastmoor Park, which is sited directly opposite. The proposed front dormer will accommodate a 4th bedroom. There are concerns that due to the narrowness of the road, there could be a possible loss of amenity also to number 136 Eastmoor Park due to loss of amenity and privacy. The proposed single-storey rear extensions extend current habitable accommodation, with the garage area being altered to be utilised for gym, utility, shower and office areas. With the loss of the garage and the proposed change from a 3 to a 4-bedroom property, there still appears to be sufficient parking provision on the front of the property. No trees will be affected by this proposal. Expressed concern that the proposed first floor front gable extension and the proposed new front dormer window may have an adverse effect on neighbouring property 136 Eastmoor Park in terms of loss of amenity and privacy, and that the proposed first floor front gable extension may be out of keeping with the street scene. The concerns raised by number 49 were regarding loss of amenity, and who stated that he wanted to see obscure glass to the side windows and door.
Thank you. Right, do I have comments, councillors? I mean, I certainly agree that it looks to me that it's rather out of keeping with the street scene, particularly with the 2 bungalows on either side. It's so Paul Cousin, that is.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. I mean, the only thing that I would comment about is, or comment on, is, I mean, ultimately, I don't know, most people if you live opposite a house, it's likely you've got front windows in your house that overlook your neighbour's front windows, whether, you know, it's a terraced house and it's a few metres, or a bigger house of 10 metres. So I don't know, is that really too much of a detrimental loss of privacy? I don't know. I mean, it's sort of normal, isn't it, I guess, that you over in a built-up area with a house opposite, that your windows are going to be opposite their windows. So I don't know really how bad that is, but I mean, we're only expressing concern, so I wouldn't, you know, go, you know, I'm not minded particularly to vote against the committee, but I'm just sort of flagging it, whether it's a biggish window or a small window. If you're stood at that window looking out, you're going to see the house opposite.
Yeah, Nigel.
Thanks, Chair. I go along with what the officer has written. I think in particular the proposed first floor front gable extension may be out of keeping with the street scene. I think is the point I would focus on. I'm not certain if we're able to object to a 2nd story being built. Is that just because it's 1-story properties? You say the other properties would look out of keeping with the others next door, but is that a valid reason to object?
Well, I think only if you think it affects the street scene.
Well, I think this would affect the street scene.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I think it affects the street scene. Yes, I mean, no, it's not necessarily a planning point, but it is where feels that has that effect. John.
Yeah, isn't there not also a point that in occasion we've said that, you know, there's a shortage of single-story buildings in Harpenden. I do know that a lot of bungalows have dormer accommodation, but this would be a further loss. And again, the HNP does refer to maintaining a mix of buildings.
Yes, indeed. So I mean, my view is to go with the officer's comment, but I would add in as well that the point in the neighbourhood plan about loss of bungalows. So would we, councillors, would you be happy to go with the officer's suggestion, but that we add in a comment about bungalows? Yep. Okay. Are we?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. 5/2021/0327. Ivy Cottage does not meet the criteria for consideration. 5/2021/035215. The Warren.
Okay. We've got some pictures for this one.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Now, this application follows a previous application which was recently considered by the committee and is now currently under consideration by the local planning authority. The proposal submitted in this application is similar, but with larger additions to the existing buildings. The overall design of the building has been slightly altered from the previous application, with roof lights being added to form a roof section in the middle of the building. 2 upper rear windows are to be obscurely glazed. The roof height in itself appears to remain the same. The proposal shows the demolition of the outbuildings to the rear of the property, including the associated monopitch roof form which connects the driveway to the rear garden, and to replace the existing rear addition to the main building with a 2-storey rear extension to accommodate the main entrance. The right-hand side of the front elevation is proposed to match the height, shape and materials of the main roof. Black stained vertical timber cladding is proposed to the 2-storey rear extension with red clay tarred cladding to the front and eastern side of the building. The application states that the design has replicated the existing footprint in order to protect the mature oak tree on the site, which is protected by a TPO. There appears to be sufficient distance from surrounding properties to have no detrimental impact with regard to privacy and amenity. Consider no objection. There has been a letter of objection who are stating that there is an objection to the first floor study window, which is not obscured, and therefore they have a loss of amenity. They previously objected, and the application was, well, I don't know if it was permitted. I don't know if they got history. No, it's under consideration, so.
Well, we could always go no objection, subject to, we could always put to cover the glazed window, we could always say subject to no loss of amenity to neighbouring properties.
I think there's quite a lot of distance between all
Yeah, I
of
was
the
going to
properties
say,
around.
they're pretty big plots up at the Warren, so I would think it was a fair old distance. So, I mean, I'm quite happy to go with no objection, but we can always add in subject to no loss of amenity if we, yeah, if we do that, just covers it. Are we happy to go with that? Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
5/2021/0074 does not meet the criteria required for consideration committee. The same for 0079 at 2 Highfield Avenue, although I would note that I don't know if it's more than one, there are a couple of letters of objection which seem to object to the fact that putting up the fence, they're losing a view of the householder's previous flower bed. I'm not quite sure, but I'm inclined to just leave it that it does not meet criteria for consideration by the committee, and then if the officer at district wants to look at it, they can. So we're happy to go with that, yes. 5/2021/0117 at 15 Lodge Gardens, similarly does not meet criteria required for consideration by the committee. Then moving on to 1 Kirkdale Avenue. Yeah, so
Right, got some pictures for this one. Right, this proposal is to retain the existing class use on the building, which was Class B1A and has now changed to Class E, and to raise and alter the roof form from a flat to a pitched form, incorporating roof lights to the sides along with front and rear gables. The intention is to create additional office space. The proposed height of the ridge will be 5.8 metres with the eaves at 3.7 metres. Existing meterage of the building is 22 square metres, and the proposed alterations will increase it to 44 square metres. The property is set on a small site with neighbouring property number 3 Kirkdale Road, set back quite some distance. Host property has a driveway at the side between itself and number 3 Kirkdale Road, which leads to the rear of the property. Parking is not a requirement as travel requirements are met within Harpenden Town Centre and due to the overall meterage size of the property. No trees will be affected by this proposal. This property is in need of updating, and although sited in the Harpenden Conservation Area, the design appears to be in keeping with the area and the street scene. Consider no objection subject to appropriate design and use of materials in the Harpenden Conservation Area. Now, looking on the website, there was comments from Highways who said that they had no objection subject to previously received conditions and Highways information advisory notes, and suggested that the local planning authority take information and any comments from the fire and rescue service. They were okay regarding parking and cycling provision for this. Letters of objection received from local residents were that it was out of keeping with the street scene and that there was no parking provision.
Okay, have you got any comments, councillors? Yeah, I mean, it's the building there has a history of being refused. Yes, Pip. Pip.
Yeah.
Sorry. Could somebody just explain the difference in the class of the building? This proposes to retain the existing class use of the building, Class B1A, now changed to Class E. Does that mean part of the planning application is to change it from A to E, or that's already happened?
That's the class usage. That's what it's allowed to do. So it's allowed to be used as office space and different things like that. It can't be used for residential, which it applied for before.
Yeah, I remember.
So it applied to change that usage to residential. It's in September 2020, some of the class usages were revoked and changed from class A's and B's to a standard one, which is now Class E. So it covers the office usage.
Okay, so it's still classed as an office? Is that
Yeah,
right?
office use, yes, and different services like that, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, I mean, I think there have been some letters of objection, haven't there?
Yes, yeah.
And I think some of them about saying it's out of character, which I'm not sure that what's there now is particularly in character, is it?
That's right. They were saying in their letters that it was originally a site office for when the houses in Kirkdale were actually built.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I actually think what's planned looks probably slightly better than what's there now.
Agreed.
Yeah, Pip.
Agreed.
It's just to clarify, when it came before the planning committee before, it was to change it from a single story to a 2-story dwelling, and so it was rejected because it was because of the change of use rather than it was going to become 2 stories.
Yeah, it was a change of use.
It was the change of use.
Okay, so they're not going to change the use, they just want to put another.
Yes, so change the design. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think we'll get a planning application shortly afterwards for the change of use?
Well, we'll meet that one when it comes, if it does.
Yeah. That's very cynical.
Well, yeah, we've seen it before, but I think as it stands, I've no objection to it. I think it, as I say, I actually think it looks better than the building that's there now. So are we okay to go with no objection? Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, then moving on to 5/2021-0269-121 Overstone Road. And just so councillors know, this has been called in to be heard at Plans North on the basis that scale, design and size would be a disproportionate addition to the original dwelling. I think they're referring particularly to the depth of the extension, but I mean, Mim can take us through it, but that would point out that the next door property has got planning permission in place to extend out back.
Okay, so I've got some pictures, if Hev wouldn't mind. So this proposal is to increase living space by way of a 2-storey rear extension and incorporating an additional bedroom, turning this property into a 4-bedroom dwelling. A 1-storey rear extension is suggested within the plans, which will increase ground floor habitable space with a part first floor side extension to house 2 ensuite bathrooms and conversion of the loft area for creation of a study. The existing garage is to be altered to become a workshop. Although the front driveway is block paved with a small landscape bed to one corner, it remains unclear if there is sufficient parking for the necessary 3 vehicles required for the increase from 3 to 4 bedrooms. With regards to the part first floor side extension, this appears to be in keeping with the existing street scene and remains subservient to the proposed property. The existing dwelling house is set well within its own boundaries due to the side pathways and gates which are built into the designs of these properties. Due to these distances, the 2-storey rear extension does not appear to have any detrimental impact on neighbouring properties. In fact, several properties along this run of dwellings have already been granted permission to extend rearward on first floor elevations. Neighbouring property number 119 Overstone Road has recently gained permission also to extend with a 2-storey rear elevation. There will be no detrimental impact on the street scene and no trees appear to be impacted by this proposal. I suggested no objection subject to no loss of amenity to neighbouring properties. It's down to councillors. I didn't feel that it would impact on neighbouring properties due to the fact that it was set within its boundaries. I couldn't see that the 45-degree rule would actually affect the neighbouring properties in any way.
Particularly since extending as well. Matt.
Thank you, Rosemary. Just a very quick one on the parking, because it did look significantly short on parking, because I could only see really space for 1 car if they're getting rid of the garage. And I was just wondering if, I've got no objection to the principle of them extending the house, but given that from what I recall of Overstone Road, there isn't a lot of on-street parking down there, whether we should flag, not necessarily as far as express concern, but just flag with the planning authority at district that there might be very little parking with the new development.
Paul.
Yeah, I was going to raise that as well, and so I would just want to reinforce what Matt says. It's an area I know quite well. It's quite near where I live. It is congested and cramped. There isn't much off-street parking, and I think there's a bit of a principle there that it's part of our neighbourhood plan, and it's not regarded. It seems like it might be possible to get 3 parking spaces there at the front with that, as you said, small embed shrub bed that there is. But it just looks like my impression is they might just think, oh, that's quite a nice shrub bed, so we'll just try and get away with it by not mentioning that. And in a road where there isn't a lot of other parking, I think we have to raise that as a serious concern, however we do it.
Yes, I suggest we could add on, subject to no loss of amenity to neighbouring properties and subject to the provision of adequate off-street parking. And
do we need to be clear that adequate means we expect 3 slots? I know it's in our neighbourhood plan, but if not, we need to refer to that.
Yeah, well, we could refer to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, we could refer to. Yes.
Good. Thank you.
Nigel, did you want to say something?
No, I was nodding, I was concurring with what was being said.
Oh, so okay, are we happy to go with that then? Then we add in the parking as well. Yes.
Yep,
Thank
agreed.
you.
Yeah.
So moving on to 5/2021 0272 102 104 High Street.
Okay, we've got some pictures for this one. Okay, so these properties are sited in the Harpenden Conservation Area, and this proposal is to replace the shop front of current property 102 High Street, which appears to have been vacant for some time, with shop front glazing, and incorporate it with 104 High Street, which has been trading as Tahini, now trading as new restaurant Tabur. No other major changes are to be made. Pilasters, fascias and awnings are to be retained. The existing hanging sign is also to be retained, but with replacement logo. The new name for the restaurant is proposed to be displayed by way of halo illuminated copper lettering, with copper lettering to the existing hanging sign also. These are shown on the plans and do not appear to be overpowering or dominant on the street scene. At the rear of the property, new timber windows and doors are proposed to be installed. Consider no objection, subject to appropriate design and materials in the Harpenden Conservation Area. So we had a letter of support from somebody at Glen Eagles, and we've had some letters of objection from neighbouring properties in Kirkdale regarding noise, traffic, parking, delivery vehicles, litter, waste, opening hours and infestation.
Wasn't it a restaurant before? Or takeaway? Wasn't it a food?
It was a takeaway at Tahini's, and the other property, I believe, was an estate agent's, but it's been shut for some time.
Yes.
So,
Paul, cousin.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I was just going to say that Tahini, it was a restaurant, but it was a very small one with maybe, you know, just a few single bar stools and then maybe 2 or 3 tables of 4. So I guess the concern is that it's, and then a lot of people have takeaway, and obviously the last year, lots of more people have been just getting it to take away. Presumably the sort of objection is that it's turning it into a bigger operation, I guess, is it? In terms of the numbers of diners that would be there. My question was around the lighting, you know, the signage. I can never remember. Do we, in general, are we happy with things like backlit?
I think so. I think it's when it's internally lit, where it's
it's internal lighting.
Okay, fine. Fine. I mean, I guess I understand the concerns from the neighbours, but it is ultimately a restaurant now, and there are lots of restaurants around, and I guess there are probably going to be more shops and less shops and more restaurants arguably in the future.
Yes.
So I'm happy with the officer.
Yes, I'm not sure which order other speakers are, so I'm just going to see you. Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have sympathy with the residents that this will probably cause some degree of extra loss of amenity on them, but I think part of that comes with living near a high street that's vibrant, and I think we should be doing what we can to support an expanding high street business, or a business that is coming. I'm not entirely sure if it's the old restaurant is expanding or it's a new one taking over too, but you know, if ever there was a time for us to be supporting businesses who want to come to Harpenden High Street, I think now is the moment to do so. And I think, other than infestation, which doesn't sound like something you would get with the operation of a well-maintained restaurant, then I think this all sounds very much like the sort of thing living near a high street.
Not to mention it's not a planning matter. John.
Sorry, Matt has made exactly the point I
Okay.
was going to make about supporting the high street. Yes.
Okay, Nigel.
I concur, Chair, in the basis it's taking it's putting back into commission a unit that's been empty for quite some time at the end of town that's been fairly badly blighted because there's still another 1, 2, 3 units.
Yes, there are several empty.
This to me
Yes.
is at least hopefully the turn of the tide, I'd like to think.
Yes, because thank you. Okay,
And
so
by the way, I use
Paul, did you want to speak?
and by the way, I use it a lot.
Yes.
Tahina.
Paul, did you want to speak? Yes, other Paul.
I concur with all that, but I also wanted to address one of the concerns raised, which was extra litter and noise. And the original Tahini design, yes, there were very small number of seats, but its concept is not a takeaway. Its concept is a small restaurant, and if they go for the bigger space, that'll be so that it will become less of a takeaway. Obviously after COVID times, but everyone's suffering that. So on top of all that, I don't actually see that as, it's not like opening up a should we say, a more routine takeaway.
Yes.
It's not their operation. They have a very big restaurant in St Albans, which I think seats sort of 80 to 100. And yes, they knew there was a slightly different model here, but it's not going away from it. Really ought to be a dining space.
Yes, and assuming, and I can't conceive that they're not going for an alcohol license, so they will have obviously conditions going with any licensing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so are we minded to go with the officer's recommendation? No objection.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed.
Yeah.
5/2020-2895, 6 Tylers, does not meet criteria for consideration. Then moving on to 5/2020-2977 at 4A Manland Avenue.
Okay, pictures coming up. This property is set in a road which consists of dwellings of various designs and sizes. The proposal submitted shows a small addition to the front porch area, partial conversion of the existing double garage into further habitable accommodation, and raising of the roof to allow for loft space. The introduction of the proposed loft will incorporate a small rear dormer window and 2 Velux windows in the roof, one of which will be sited at the rear and one at the front. The roof line appears to be designed in order to ensure no loss of amenity to neighbouring property number 2 Manland Avenue, and suggests no detrimental impact on the street scene. Parking remains sufficient for the property, with the remaining single space in the garage and the large block paving driveway, which appears to be enough for at least 4 cars. No trees will be affected by this proposal. Consider no objection, and no letters of objection were on the website either.
Okay, are we happy to go with that? Thank you. Right, 5/2021-0366 at 16 Glemsford Drive does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. Similarly, 5/2021-0372 at 5 Chesterton Avenue, 5/2021-0418 at 64 Station Road, and 5/2021-0426, 5 Cornwall Road. And then moving on to 5/2021-0429 at 1 Dalkeith Road.
Okay, and some pictures here. This application site is set on a large plot with adequate parking provision, including a double garage. The proposal is for a small first floor side extension, which will bring the first floor elevation in line with the building line of the utility room, and thus allow for alterations to habitable accommodation. Sited behind the host property is number 57 Station Road. However, there does not appear to be any detrimental impact in terms of loss of amenity or privacy to this property due to the minimal increase to the first floor elevation. The proposed carport is to be sited on the same side of the property, and it appears that the existing shrub border may need alterations in order to allow sufficient space. concerns are that the existing trees in the border may be affected. And I think you can see on the plans where the trees are sited. I put some arrows where you can see that I think there's a line of about 3 trees, and then I think they're going to be reduced to 2. And that was my only concern. So it's considered, although that there is no objection in principle, concerns are expressed that the proposed carport may have a detrimental impact on the trees sited to the side of the property.
Thank you. I mean, it's not absolutely clear whether it will or won't, so I'm happy to go with that recommendation. Is everybody happy to go with that? Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed.
5/2021 0150 plot 2 South Holme Redbourne Lane does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. 5/2021 0208 at 12 West Common Grove.
Okay, no letters of objection have been received for this one. This property is set in a road in the Harpenden Conservation Area, which borders the Metropolitan Greenbelt. It's a 6-bedroom property, and the proposal shows a suggested ground and first floor side extension with first floor accommodation to be contained within the proposed roof space. The proposed extension is to be sited next to neighbouring property Grey Corners and appears to be screened by trees and shrubbery, which may create adequate protection for any possible loss of amenity or privacy. The proposed extension appears to be sufficiently subservient to the host dwelling, with a proposed roof design matching the existing. The supplied plans show that the additional ground floor extension will be used as a music room, with the first floor room to be utilised as an ensuite. With regards to the proposed replacement double garage, this is shown to be set 600 mm in from the neighbouring boundary line and is proposed to house a study on the first floor elevation. The overall ridge height is shown as 5355 mm and the eaves height as 2650 mm, with a front dormer window in the roof line. Sufficient screening along the front and side boundaries of the property could possibly prevent a detrimental impact on the street scene and the Harpenden Conservation Area. Consider no objection, subject to appropriate design and use of materials in the Harpenden Conservation.
Paul.
Thank you, Chair. So it looks as though, looking at the history, that I mean, this looks a fairly new building. Is that right? That it was built originally then in 2000, planning permission in 2015 for effectively demolition of the bungalow and a big new house being built. And then it looks to have been extended again in 2017. And now it looks to be extended, extended again. And I'm just wondering effectively whether maybe they didn't get permission for what they wanted in 2015 and they're doing it little bits by little bit. Because it seems quite large at the moment. And am I reading that correctly, that it has been extended already in 2017 and then this is a further extension?
Yes. Yes, they got permission to extend in 2017. They got permission, obviously, to demolish the existing bungalow in 2015 and with the replacement dwelling. So yes, you're right.
Sorry, I was going to say, generally, when people are knocking down a house and building a new one, they sort of maximise how big they can go, don't they, in 2015, and then they've extended already in 2017. Yeah. So I don't know, I'm just flagging, is it?
Well, that assumes it's the same owners, doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, true. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have too much concern, but I'm just thinking, it's fairly new and it's already been extended. And is it too much in the conservation area? I don't know, asking the question, I guess.
No, personally, I think it looks okay, but.
If I can just interject, I've just sought clarification, and there was no previous application for the demolition of the bungalow pre the permission being granted in 2015. So your concerns about potential nibbling away because they didn't get what they wanted in the first place doesn't appear to be the case.
I mean, I'm happy to go with the recommendation. It's just quite unusual. You're on mute, Nigel.
Yeah, I mean, I think given the size of the plot and its location, it's okay. So are we happy to go with that?
Nigel's speaking.
Nigel, you're on
Oh,
mute.
Nigel.
Sorry, I'm Chair, I'm unmuted. And I was happy to go along with the officer's view, but on the other hand, when I look at the picture of it, you've got that big wall there at the right-hand side looking at the front of the house. Is that all screened by trees? Will that be screened by trees? Otherwise, it looks a bit of an eyesore.
We have a look at this again, Hev.
Yeah, of course.
You see what I mean?
Which bit are we talking about?
Well, if you look at the front of the house, on the right-hand side, you've got that extension, which is that big sort of 1.5-story wall, blank wall.
So on the side that they're extending near to the Pars, you've got a great big hedge to that side there. That's it. Which is the screening.
Okay, so there is screening.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the previous photo?
It's that big wall that is sort of coloured orangey brown on the right of the.
Yeah.
Looking at that, yeah.
There.
So will that be visible to the road? I guess so.
Where's the entrance?
It's not that appealing to the conservation area.
No, that's going to be against the boundary line, I believe. That's the ensuite, isn't it? Not sure.
No, I think looking at, to my understanding, I think that's the side of the new garage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the wall that Nigel's concerned about, that's viewed from the frontage.
Oh, right.
That there is what would be, in a sense, what would be viewed from the
front.
That's the opposite side, actually. So
can we go back and look how far back from the road it is? It's quite a way back from the road, isn't it?
Yes, because you've got the parking.
It's very open though, isn't it? I mean, as you walk along there, it's a high footfall. You've got sort of effectively the common and the trees on one side, and it's very. I mean, I know there's 2 cars parked there, but it's very visible.
I'm just going to see if I can go to the Google Street View.
Street scene, yeah.
It looks to me, just looking at the aerial shot, that it talks about in the plan about demolishing an existing double garage. I suspect that already looks quite a lot like that with an existing double garage.
Yes, I think that's why a street scene would be quite, if we could have a look at the street scene, what's there now.
The difficulty is, I think, the street scene actually is of the bungalow, unfortunately. So it doesn't.
Can't always get at it.
Yeah, I'll show you. Unfortunately, I think the street view is depicting the bungalow as opposed to the new house.
So
that's what was demolished, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that probably doesn't help us a lot, unfortunately.
So on the existing plans, they're showing that they've already got a garage there. And then now they're going to put a new garage in, aren't they? In that same position. Well, just slightly forward. So they've still got that wall, which they already had. It's just a little bit closer to the boundary.
So I think they're replacing the existing garage there.
That's right.
A larger.
Yes.
Larger garage with
That's right.
Accommodation in the roof.
That's right.
Which will be flush to the main house then, presumably. Is that right?
No, it's going to be in the same position. Look over where you see the study, isn't it? It's just that it looks flush there, but it's actually Can you see right down in the right-hand corner in blue where that study is? That's where the new garage. That's it. That's where the new garage is going to be. It just looks like it's attached to the house because of the way that the drawings are.
See, this drawing at the top here relates to the extension that's here, the ensuite element.
Yeah.
That there, from what you're seeing there, is
Yes.
essentially that. And this here, so that there, sorry, is the ensuite.
Yeah.
element. This here is is the flank wall of the new garage.
Which is positioned down the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the footprint of the existing garage.
Yeah.
My understanding, yeah. But they're adding essentially roof accommodation to the existing garage.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
So it's that building, so it's the
Yes,
building
this
there.
building
Yes.
there.
Yeah. So it's still going to be. Yeah. So it's still going to be in the same position. It's just going to be bigger. That's correct, isn't it, Hev?
Yeah. Yes, it's my understanding anyways, that
Yeah.
they're essentially putting a first floor on the garage to
Yeah.
have the study, and the main house is having an extension to the side to incorporate the music room on the ground floor and the ensuite on the first floor.
Yeah. So it's going to have a slightly different, it's going to have a different roof line to it. Whereas before it just had a normal pitched roof, it's going to have a different roof line to it.
Okay.
But so does that, sorry to raise it again, Chair, does that mean that flank wall is right up against the pavement of the road?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's there where it is now. It's, I mean, it's the same position where the separate garage is now, up against the boundary. And
I must admit, I don't
Absolutely.
like it that big, that close to the road.
I think
but
it's
it's
going to
there,
be
but it's
close.
already there.
Totally there.
Okay.
It is going to be closer and larger, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah, it is going to be closer and it is going to be larger. Just so that you're aware.
Well, then if you like, we could go with no objection, subject to etc., and express concerns about the increase in the size and siting of the garage and its effect on the street scene.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's fair because it's a lot of people walk past there and it is right
Yes.
opposite the common.
And then the officers could look at it, but I think that perhaps will get round it. Are we happy to go with that, councillors?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
5/2021-0294 28 Laycroft Way does not meet criteria for consideration, and similarly for 5/2021-0419 49 Mead Way. 5/2021-0181 is 30 Park Avenue North.
Okay. Right. This one's doing quite a lot. So the application property is set in the Harpenden Conservation Area on a large plot with good distances between neighbouring properties, between neighbouring boundaries and sufficient screening. The proposal for this property shows a new basement extension to the rear, which is to house a gym and media rooms. A new two-storey rear extension is proposed following demolition of the two-storey, single-storey rear extensions and conservatory, which shows a balcony on the rear elevation. And although the 45-degree angle regulations appear to have been met in regard to neighbouring property number 32 Park Avenue North, it is unclear if the balcony will have any detrimental impact on this neighbouring property in terms of loss of privacy or amenity regarding overlooking. The proposal also shows a single-storey rear extension and an increase in roof height by ½ metre in order to accommodate 2 additional bedrooms in the roof space, increasing this property from a 5 to a 6-bedroom dwelling house. Parking provision is sufficient for this increase. The increase in roof height is minimal and does not appear to conflict with neighbouring properties or the street scene. An increase in size to the front porch is proposed, along with a 2-storey hall and landing extension to the front of the property. There is sufficient space on the front elevation to accommodate this increase, and this does not appear to have any detrimental impact on the street scene, as the property is set back from the road, which in itself is made up of various designs and styles. A further addition included in the application is for a pool house, along with associated landscaping, which is sited further down the rear garden away from neighbouring properties, and is shown to be a 5.5 metres to the ridge with a sloping roof to match the existing property. A tree survey has been provided within this proposal and shows that no trees will be affected. Consider no objection in principle. However, concerns are expressed regarding inclusion of the balcony within the proposal, which may cause a possible loss of amenity and privacy to neighbouring property number 32 Park Avenue North.
Well, I'm happy to go with that. Any comments, or was everybody happy to go with that? Thank you.
Yes, agreed.
5/20/21 5 Pondwick Road.
Okay. Right, the proposal for replacement dwelling is for a property which is set in a road of similar style and design dwelling houses. The new proposed dwelling, which is to be a 3-storey property, appears to be set slightly forward on the existing front building line, although this does not appear to impact on neighbouring properties. Bedroom accommodation increases from 4 to 6, with on-site parking provision remaining sufficient. On the rear elevations, the design includes balconies on the 1st and 2nd floor levels, which may impact on neighbouring properties in terms of loss of amenity and privacy. On the side elevation of the 2nd storey, a large side window for bedroom 5 is proposed. No details are shown within the application as to whether this window is to be obscurely glazed, and there are concerns as to how this might impact on neighbouring properties. No trees will be affected by the proposal. Express concern with regards to possible loss of amenity to neighbouring properties in relation to the proposed balconies and the glazed window on the 2nd floor side elevation.
Thank you. Do I have any comments, or are we happy to go with that? Nigel?
Okay, I looked at some of the other details on this, and I was concerned about the height, the proposed height in relation to the adjoining properties. And I don't think any of our slides show that at the moment, but I'm pretty certain when I looked at this in detail, that was my concern. The height of the building, the proposed building.
Okay.
Rosemary, Pip would like to speak.
Okay, Pip.
I was only just going to comment that if the height is an issue, it makes the balconies more of an issue as well.
Yes.
Looking right down.
Yes. I think Mim's just having a look at the plans, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out what the height is, but I can't see anything that actually says what the height is. There's no details within the application that says how high it is.
Well, in that case, perhaps we could. So if it's not possible to entirely work out the height, perhaps we can put something in to say further express concern that it is not clear from the plans how high. Or have you found the increase in height?
There is a proposed street scene, and number 5 looks about the same height as neighbouring property number 7. It just seems higher. Well, it is higher than number 3. And sorry, let me just. And it is higher than the building that it is replacing.
Well, in that case,
So-
we could add in wording after
Mm.
express concern with regard to possible loss of amenity in relation to the proposed balconies and glazed window, which is exacerbated by the proposed increase in height.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, are we happy to go with that, councillors?
Yes,
you.
please.
Thank you.
5/2021/0296, 22 Sun Lane.
Oh. Right. Okay, so this one. Right, okay. My observations were the application property is a locally listed building and is set in the Harpenden Conservation Area backing onto the Harpenden Railway Line. The property is also set within Parking Zone 1 of the St Albans District Council Parking Zone scheme, with parking areas outlined along Sun Lane outside of the host property. It currently has a detached double garage to the side, with a side access further along Sun Lane onto the property, the bank of which is lined by mature trees. The proposal is to demolish the existing garage and to replace it with a 4-bedroomed detached dwelling, to build a new garage into the bank on the south side of the host dwelling and create a vehicular crossover to access the newly created garage. The garage itself will have a roller shutter entrance and a surface area to pull off the road in order to keep the highway and footpath clear. Although visibility displays have been included in the plan, concerns are raised that these may be compromised due to the on-road parking of vehicles in the local authority parking permit zone. Associated landscaping works are included in the application. Although the proposed garage is shown to be incorporated under the existing bank and therefore does not appear to be detrimental on the street scene, there are concerns that valuable on-street parking permit parking space may be lost by the creation of this access and garage in this parking zone area. With regards to the proposed new 4-bedroom property, which is proposed to replace the existing garage, this does not appear to be substantially large, with its ridgeline set lower than that of the host property and sufficient amenity space provided. Details from the arborist's report state that the yew trees sited at the front of the existing garage should be pruned for the new proposed property, and that their resulting canopies will sit away from the front of the proposed dwelling, ensuring adequate light to bedroom 2. Concerns are therefore raised with regard to potential future loss of these trees, which are a part of the Harpenden Conservation Area and also the street scene. 2 further on-site trees are stated for removal and are to be replaced by another 2. Consider express concern with regard to insufficient parking provision for the host property with regards to the loss of the double garage and parking area, and also regarding the detrimental impact that the proposed new garage on the south side of the plot would have on the local authority parking zone area. Further concerns are raised with regards to the positioning of the proposed new 4-bedroom dwelling in relation to the trees lining the front of the site, which will be affected by the development and could result in future potential harm or loss. Parking provision for both of these properties does not appear to be sufficient. Now, there were some letters of objection regarding, well, one letter of objection regarding materials of the property from one local resident who just said that there wasn't enough brickwork in the actual new property to match the street scene. Network Rail commented and said there was no objection in principle, but the requirements that must be met when working near the railway must be dealt with. Highways commented and said they were unable to support the application regarding parking, as it was unclear on plans regarding visibility displays and possible loss of parking of up to 5 parking spaces in the parking zone, and they need permission of the local planning.
And they in fact recommended refusal.
Yes, they did. Yes.
Thank you. I think I saw Matthew up with his hand first, then Paul, then John.
Thanks, Rosemary. So, yeah, I'm going to start with the trees. So if they're replacing 2 trees with 2 trees, that's not enough. And I think we should be highlighting the fact that, you know, they've not met the 2-for-1 ratio. I think we also, as everything that's already in there, I think is good. But I wanted to get a sense of how insufficient the parking provision was. I suspect lean towards reviews anyway, but at the point that I was going to ask the question, it was more pertinent. But if we're leaning towards reviews anyway, I don't really need an answer.
Well, I mean, I think the key point is if highways recommend refusal, and they are recommending refusal, their reason for refusal is the effect on the local authority parking zone. I think it's quite simple. We refuse on the parking.
Well, they're saying that there's insufficient parking anyway. It's unclear the amount of parking anyway on the site, as well as the
yes, highways big concern is the effect on the parking zone area.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think on the parking alone, we refuse. Apart from anything else, we refuse on the parking. I mean, you can't do anything if highways recommend refusal. It's basically it's
not going anywhere.
It's not going to happen.
No.
So, Paul, did you want to comment?
Only briefly now, given what's just been said, I mean, it struck me as a very innovative design and proposal to get a 4-bedroom house into that space. And I was thinking, but then just to go along for a minute, and I had to read it twice to see that they were completely destroying the parking provision for the existing house, as well as not giving enough parking provision for the new house, because there's 2 4-bedroom houses there, it looks like. So that's 6 parking spaces. I know you might allocate one to the street. And we can't have that.
No, and that bit of Sun Lane, it's a tricky bit of road.
Yeah.
So I think we're quite simply agreed on that. We refuse.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yes, 5/2021-0364 for Rose Ness does not meet criteria for consideration. Then 5/2021-0408 3 Rowan Way.
Right, okay, some more pictures coming up. Right, no letters of objection have been received for this one. This property gained planning permission in 2019 for extensions to the side and rear of the dwelling house, a loft conversion, pitch roof to the front bay window and a front canopy. This application has now been submitted for, which is for a smaller design than that which was already been approved. The changes which have been made to the design are a reduction in size to the rear extension from 5.7 metres to 4.95 metres. The side extension is shown as 1 metre from the flank side boundary in order to prevent a terracing effect, and the proposed rear extension has been reduced by 0.8 metres. However, the parking provision remains the same, with only 1 parking spot available on the site prior to the proposal, with an increase from 3 to 4 bedrooms and no parking provision made available or suggested. This application then fails to meet the requirements of policy 40 of the St Albans District Plan. Consider, although it is noted that there has been a reduction in size and scale to the previously approved application, concerns are still expressed that there is insufficient on-site parking provision for this proposal.
I think, given it's a reduction in size and that the previous application was permitted, I don't think there's anything else. I think that's the most we can say is to go with that.
Agreed.
So are people amenable to that? Thank you. Oh, we now move on to 5/2021-0409, the Skew Bridge.
Right. Now we've had on St Albans website, there were 2 letters of objection and 3 letters of support regarding this
I
application.
might say the letters of support did not come from addresses of people who were residents in the immediate area.
No, I was going to say that, yeah, they weren't right in the vicinity. The Skewbridge Public House is set in a semi-residential area with Harpenden Common to one side and property to the front and opposite side of the property. To the rear of the public house, there's a bungalow with permission being granted for another 2-bedroom bungalow to be sited on land to the rear of Skewbridge Public House. This new proposal is showing alterations to its premises which appear to incorporate the area suggested for the previous application. The proposal is for a new masonry entrance porch to the front of the building with double half-glazed doors, glazed side screens and a mono-pitch roof. Also detailed at the front of the building, there appear to be 2 2.6 metre by 200 mm timber posts from which festoon lighting is to be strung to join to points on the proposed new lobby and far points of the front elevation. Further proposals are to carry out repairs to the existing garage, which is sited at the rear of the property, and to form openings in the garage, install heaters and allow inside/outside trade space. A fixed seating bay is also to be installed inside the garage area. At the rear of the garage, a new timber pergola with polycarbonate roof, festoon lighting and heaters is to be erected with close bordered fencing to the boundary elevation. A small single-storey extension is proposed at the rear of the existing kitchen area, which is positioned at the side of the main building. 5 further 2.6 by 200 timber posts are suggested in various positions on either side of the existing car park, which will carry further festoon lighting. There are concerns that due to the positioning of the existing garage in relation to the neighbouring property on the rear boundary, that this would affect the amenity and privacy of these occupiers in terms of noise and light pollution. There are also concerns with regard to the possibility of light pollution with regards to the festoon lighting on the street scene. No details have been submitted with regards to lighting levels, times, etc. Recommend refusal due to the proposed alterations to the existing garage and the positioning of it on the rear boundary of number 2 Queen's Road, and I'm not sure if that is the number of the property. It is considered that this would have a detrimental impact on the occupiers of this property in terms of loss of privacy and amenity due to possible noise and light pollution. Concerns are also expressed with regards to the festoon lighting, which may have a detrimental impact on the street scene and also on neighbouring properties.
Yes, because I would have thought if there's light pollution for the property on Queen's Road, the same could apply to the properties on facing it on the Southdown Road. Right, do I have any comments, councillors? I mean, one has sympathy with any hospitality venue that's looking to improve its offering and bring people back in. However, it is in a residential area, and due cognizance has to be given to the amenity of the residents. So do I have any comments, or are we minded to go with the recommendation?
Yep, I think so. Pip, are you in agreement?
Yeah, thank you. 5/2021 0446 23 Milton Road.
Again, no letters of objection have been received on this one. I think we got some pictures.
Yep, here they are.
Right, thank you, Hev. Right, property is a locally listed building set in the Harpenden Conservation Area and is located in a tree-lined road sited well back on its plot. It is a 3-storey dwelling and has a horseshoe driveway with plenty of parking provision. The The proposal shows a two-storey side extension which is subordinate to the host dwelling with a roof form matching the existing. Single-storey rear extensions at the rear of the property are to replace an existing conservatory and will have pitched roofs which have been broken up into 3 stages in order to avoid massing. The property will increase from a 4 to a 5-bedroom property with sufficient on-site parking provision. The amenity of neighbouring properties does not appear to have been affected with the 45-degree rule being complied with. Concerns that were raised at the pre-application stage appear to have been addressed. No trees will be affected. Consider no objection subject to the appropriate design and use of materials on this locally listed building sited in the Harpenden Conservation Area.
Thank you. Okay, any comments, or are we happy to go with that? Oh, it looks okay to me. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Agreed.
5 2021 0424 8 Tylers does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee, and the same applies to 5 2021 0160 5 2021 0176 at 12 Ridge Avenue.
Okay, so a letter of objection has been received from a property in Luton Road which backs on to Ridge Avenue, which states that 12 Ridge Avenue is in an elevator position, and it states that no other properties in Ridge Avenue have dormers, all have Velux windows, and that the dormer which is suggested is going to be too intrusive and will set a precedent. So the proposal shows a 2-storey side extension which is subservient to the main dwelling house and is pulled in away from the boundary of number 14 Ridge Avenue in order to avoid a terracing effect. The proposed roof line matches the existing. Neighbouring property number 14 has in the past obtained permission to extend with a 2-storey side extension, leaving a minimal width between the 2 boundaries. The proposed single-storey front extension is minimal and sees the internal alteration of the garage to a store. The host dwelling shows a change from 3 to 5 bedrooms. Due to the siting of the property on the site, the 2-storey side extension will not have a detrimental impact on neighbouring property number 14, and the single-storey rear extension does not extend far enough along the side boundary of number 10 to have any detrimental impact. The block plan is marked showing the frontage as a drive, but it is unclear how many parking spaces are provided for the increase in bedroom accommodation. No trees will be affected. Consider, as no parking details have been sufficiently detailed within the application, express concern with regard to the loss of the garage and the proposed increase in bedroom accommodation, that there may be insufficient parking provision for this proposal.
Yes, since we don't know, I just wondered whether we might prefer to say consider no objection subject to it being demonstrated that sufficient parking provision will be made. Matt?
I've not been inclined to go with that, simply because with a 5-bedroom property, I'm not convinced that without taking out almost the entire front garden, you could get enough cars on that drive to make it meet the provision. So I'd be inclined to leave with express concern as a
okay. Because I'm not sure they're not the same thing, but anyway, yes, Paul.
I agree with Matt in that I think we shouldn't go for a slightly more relaxed view, which is subject to. We should express concern again on the principle of they should address this neighbourhood plan's been around for 2 years. They should address it, not
Fine.
just
okay.
hope that we don't notice.
Okay, fine. I'm happy to go with that.
So can I just clarify what is it the committee want me to recommend?
Well, we're going with what you've said. Consider as no parking details have sufficiently detailed with an express concern.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going with what's suggested.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 5 2021 0448 21 Bloomfield Road does not meet the criteria for consideration by the committee. Similarly for 5 2021 0451. Then 5 2021 0024 10 Prospect Lane.
Okay, no letters of objection been received again for this one. This property is set in a road which hosts dwellings sited on large plots which are of varying designs and which border the metropolitan green belt. The proposal is to demolish the existing property and erect a new 3-storey dwelling with basement. This new dwelling will be on a larger footprint. However, it appears to sit well within its plot and is sited 3 metres away from the boundary of number 12 and 1.2 metres away from the boundary of number 8 Prospect Lane. The application appears to meet the regulations of the 45-degree rule and therefore result in no loss of amenity, with windows on the first floor side elevations being shown as obscurely glazed. The vehicle access is to be altered slightly in order to allow easier access to the double garage. There is to be an increase in roof height in order to accommodate additional habitable rooms, which entails changes from 17.4 metres to 18.7 metres, an increase of 1.3 metres. Due to the size of the plot, the size of the neighbouring properties and the distance from the road, this does not appear to have a negative impact on the street scene or adjacent properties. The proposed roof design appears to match that of the existing property. The application states that 3 cypress trees are to be removed and to be replaced by 2. Consider no objection in principle, however, express concerns that policy ESD 14 of the Harpenden Neighbourhood Plan has not been addressed and that replacement trees should be replanted on a 2-to-1 ratio. Is that right? 2-to-1 ratio?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes. Yes, it's 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt and then John.
Thank you, Rosemary. Given the size of the plot, I'd be inclined to be less generous and take out the first 5 words of the recommendation. So it's just express concern.
Okay.
John.
I was actually going to go further. They have replacing 3 with 2 on a plot of significant size, and to not at least replace it 1 for 1, I think is undermining the policy. And on a plot that size, sure, if we can't get with the trees in line with the HNP, in line with the plan on something that size, then I'm not sure we're ever going to be able to apply it. And therefore, I actually would recommend refusal.
Okay, how do we want to go? Do we want to go refuse? Or concern? Nigel? And then Paul.
I think they're agreeing with you, saying expressing concern.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, I hear what you say, John, and I think you're right. Problem is, because we know that it won't get refused. I mean, I think if we... Can we say express strong concern?
Can I suggest, Chair, express strong concern, bearing in mind the size of the plot, you know, sort of emphasise finding the forest.
Yes, yes, I mean, there's no reason why they can't put 3 trees in there.
Exactly.
Big enough they could buy the mature trees and put them in. Okay, so we'll express strong concern at yes, and extend given the size of the plot. Yeah, okay. We all happy to go with that?
Yes, agreed.
5 2021 0488 9 Rosebery Avenue.
Okay. So this property is a locally listed building sited in the Harpenden Conservation Area. It is a 3-storey property with a detached garage, and the proposal shows changes to the property which involve removal of the small rear extension, followed by the erection of a 2-storey side extension and a single-storey rear extension. The roof of the existing garage is to be raised by 0.6 of a metre and linked to the house by way of the side extension. It will then be altered into a storage area and a gym. The 2-storey element of the extension is set back from the road and sees an extension to bedroom 3 and an ensuite. A rooftop dormer is included in the application, for which approval was previously given in 2008 and is now being sought again. The proposed single-storey rear extension will support a flat green roof, which will be covered by sedum. The new proposal shows a log burner with a flue which goes up and over the roof line alongside a rear dormer. Also shown on the plans are 2 air conditioning condenser units which are positioned on the roof of the first floor side elevation. These air conditioning units are briefly mentioned in the submitted planning statement, but no details are given regarding size or noise output. Parking provision is detailed as available for 4 cars. No trees will be affected by this proposal. Consider no objection in principle, however, express concern with regards to the proposed air conditioning condenser units, which are to be sited on this locally listed building in the conservation area, with regards to possible noise pollution and detrimental impact on neighbouring properties.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I would sort of fear more towards refusal, since they give no details whatsoever of the air conditioning units, and would add in not just noise pollution and detrimental impact on neighbouring properties, and adverse visual impact on the conservation area. Nigel.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Yeah, there's also the question of the wood burning stove. Having looked at the plans, I think the flue for that goes right up to the top of the roof. I might be wrong.
No, it does.
And then
Yes.
question is, should we be supporting polluting wood burning stoves, full stop?
I
And
don't think there are any policies on which you can refuse it on that basis.
Well, I was thinking of the flue. More to me, the flue almost becomes like an industrial flue up the side of the building. And I thought that to me is totally counter to the conservation area, besides the air conditioning units. Well, you can see where the flue is going to go on the plan, on the elevations.
Well, we can add that we can put. Well, we could add in on further concerns with regard to the proposed flue going up and over the roof line. Again, its effect on the conservation area.
Yeah.
Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Can we just have a look at the front of the picture of the house again?
Of course. The street scene one?
Yeah. So I suppose my question is, how from the front, from what we're seeing, bear in mind it's a conservation area and locally listed, that in itself is a very attractive, I suppose, typical Victorian, what I believe we'll call like gentlemen's residences. Not obviously now, people residences, I suppose. But is the look of that going to change, or is it more the extension is round the back? Because well, I think it would be a shame architecturally for the look to lose the look of that at the front.
It's going to change just by the linkage from the garage to the house, and that's the only bit that you will be able to see from the street.
I guess you can still see the what it was like originally. Okay, that's fine.
It certainly creates a lot bigger mass at the side, because at the moment you've got a bit of a gap between the garage and an alleyway.
If you go back to the drawing, yes, I assume this bit up there might be the air conditioning unit, which certainly doesn't do anything for the street scene in a conservation area.
Yeah, where the red cross is, those are the two little air conditioning units. Yes. They're not huge,
no,
but it's hard to tell what the impact will be.
So what's this bit along there which doesn't? What's that?
Which bit?
Sorry, Rosemary, we can't obviously see what you're pointing to.
Oh, Well, if you go, you've got the you've got the big triangle in the roof.
Yeah.
Yes.
Down here?
On the go above that. Yes, on that
Yeah.
one. And then if you go up then to the roof? What's that?
Like a side. Well,
I think it's.
You've got the door. That's not the dormer,
I
is
think
it?
it's that. I believe it's this.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it doesn't do anything to the street scene, does it, in the conservation area?
Is that? I think, Rosemary, you might find it's already there.
Is it? I can't tell looking at the drawing. Well, perhaps it is.
Oh no, there is an installation of a rear dormer. You might be right. That might be new. I think that might be the new rear
Yeah,
dormer.
it's the new dormer.
Yeah, well, I don't, yes. Well, I think then I think we could add in concern about the effect of the rear dormer being visible from the street and its effect on the street scene. I don't know how you want to put that, but if that's what it's going to look like, you're going to see that from the front.
Yes, certainly if you look more closely at them, looking again, I hadn't picked that up to start with, and I see, yeah, I think it is, particularly on the left-hand side of the property, looking at it, it seems to be jutting out quite a bit, goes straight up, and it seems to be a thin roof line, because the picture of the house does not show that.
No.
And knowing this street, because I live in the street further along, I don't remember it coming out as a big wall against the property next to it.
No.
It's a bit difficult to almost work out how much from the side. I mean, from the side, it doesn't really look like a house. It more looks like, I don't know, like a hotel or an old person's home or something. Do you know what I mean? Now with all the different like additions, and it's something you'd expect to see a fire escape at the back. But I don't know how much that is visible. But certainly from the front, I would hope that it would retain its character and features.
Yes. Well, I think to go back, I think I would go to refuse with regards to the proposed air conditioning, and as I think we said, it's on the conservation area, and I would add on effect on the I think it also effect on the street scene, and I should add in as well concerns the overall, I don't know, do we want to say the effect on the proposed rear dormer windows on the looks like it's on the roof, the effect on the street, or something along the lines of the effect on the street scene in the conservation area.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say almost the fact that I feel as though the fact that it's locally listed, almost like the effect of the heritage almost.
Yes, I mean, I think we could go in and say, and on the basis that it would appear that elements of the proposed design and alterations are not in keeping with the heritage of the listed building in an iconic part of the town. How's that sound? I'm thinking on my feet here, but
are we expressing concern or?
No, we're going to recommend refusal. Well, I'd say we are going to. I don't know. We haven't voted yet. I'm suggesting we might wish to consider recommend refusal. So councillors, if we go for recommend refusal, can I ask who would go for that?
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you. Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, that brings item 6 to an end. 7 appeals, and you will have seen Mim sent out to you information on the Chelford House Cold Harbour Lane appeal, which will be heard in person. I mean, I wasn't intending particularly to attend, and I think, generally speaking, one would only make a further submission to a planning inquiry if you had something new to say. The planning inspector will have all the papers in front of him, which will include I council's recommendation to SADC when this came to our planning committee. So unless anybody feels differently, I wasn't particularly planning to do anything further unless anybody feels that we need to. I mean, or because the planning inspector will take account of all of our of what we said previously, and unless we want to add anything to that, and if you can only add something to it if there's something new to be considered, you can't go back on what you've already said, as it were.
That's fine. I don't think we need to discuss it.
So are we happy to go to that? We're happy just to note.
Okay.
Thanks. Item 8 for noting is the tree work applications. Item 9 is technical applications, again for noting.
Okay. Good.
And item 10 is the list of decisions, and I don't think I spotted anything particularly here. Again, that's for noting.
Okay.
Flicking through now, I don't think there's anything. So that brings us to the end of the agenda, except for the date of the next meeting is Tuesday the 6th of April, and that will be after Easter. So just wish everybody to have a enjoyable, well, for some of you who have Easter break or Easter holiday, and for all of us an enjoyable Easter weekend.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Mim and Heather.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, night everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.